On today's lesson, I'm going to show you how you can easily create tension and anxiety for your doubles opponent while also controlling exactly where their return will go. So let's get started. Now, the first thing I want you to understand is you can actually almost decide where your opponent is going to hit their return. Now, it's not 100% of the time, but it's pretty close, and I'm going to show you some extreme examples right now. So if I was a member of the serving team and my partner was serving to the deuce court, and I decided to play Australian formation, and I was over here, do you think it's more likely that the returner will hit a return cross court to me or down the line? I obviously think it's much more likely that that returner will hit the ball down the line. Now let's say I do the typical move and I'm in standard formation and I'm also guarding my alley like someone who doesn't play a lot of doubles, but I'm way over here. Do you think that returner is going to hit down the line to me, or do you think they're going to hit cross court? They're going to hit cross court, and so my starting formation and my position definitely dictates where that return will go. Now, I gave you two very extreme examples of an Australian where I was pretty far over and a regular where I was far to the left, but I'm going to show you some less extreme examples and how it scales to all levels. So I was recently driving up through Florida. I stopped by the NCAA doubles championships. These are the best players in Division I men's tennis. And I just started my camera on the first court that I saw for 30 straight minutes. They go regular formation and they go I formation, and I want you to pay attention how those formations actually dictate where that ball is going to go. All right, so we're going to watch this clip. This is Mississippi State and Auburn. Like I said, this is the first practice court. I showed up at 9 a.m. and said, oh, wow, doubles, perfect. I'm going to start recording. And just pay attention. Regular formation, return goes cross court. I formation, return goes line. We are trying to go away from the net player. So as we're watching this, you can just start predicting. You can see every time they're in regular, we're going to guess it's going cross, just like that. And when they're in I, we're going to guess they're going line. Now, it's not going to be 100% of the time, but like I said, it is probably the number one indicator you can use to predict where the return is going to go and actually funnel that return where you want it to go. Now, I know both the coaches for these teams, Auburn, Bobby Reynolds, Mississippi State, we got Matt Roberts. They are phenomenal coaches. These are phenomenal players. They are one of 32 teams that made the NCAA Division I NCAA championships. So they are awesome players. They are really well coached. And you can see that they are still predictable because they are playing percentage tennis. It's a regular formation right here. Ball goes cross court. Regular formation. That's one of the few that has gone down the line so far. So again, it's not 100%. There are other things we can do to try to funnel the ball where we want, but your starting location is a great indicator. The other thing I want you to pay attention to as we're watching these videos is the quality of the returns. So something I've talked about in other videos is it's easier to return with your body weight. So if this returner is moving towards the tee, it made more sense that he hit that one cross court. But you can see when players fight this natural tendency because they're trying to avoid that net player. I formation, that one was going cross. Regular, that went line. So that's two of the random outliers there. I formation, line. Regular formation, cross. So it's not perfect. It's not 100%. You can see we've already had a few mistakes. But generally speaking, you could sit by, watch this practice, see I formation there, and just guess that that person was going to miss one down the line. And also pay attention to how crummy some of these down the line returns are. It is far easier to return cross court, generally speaking. And so that's why I formation is such a great play, and it's very underused at the recreational level, is we got to get player attempting these weak down the line returns more often. So that was 41 out of 50 returns, 82% that we could predict just based on the formation that we started in. Now, when I'm at my doubles camps or I'm teaching people remotely, I only see regular formation. But I ask players, how often do you think the return goes cross court, which would be away from the net player? And they always say somewhere between 80, 85, and 90%, which would fall exactly in line with what we just saw. All right, so if we can get our returner to hit the ball where we want 80% of the time, just with our starting formation, how do we use this information to our advantage so we can win more matches and play smarter doubles? The first way is figure out what returns our opponents suck at and then try to encourage them to try those shots more often. So let's say my partner was serving in the deuce court and we realized the deuce court returner had a really poor forehand down the line. I would not go regular formation because I'm going to encourage him to try his forehand cross court. I would go I formation or Australian and show him this line and go, hey, do you want to try your worst return all day against us? We're more than happy with that. So figure out, pay attention to what your returners are doing, what they look comfortable on, what they're missing more, and then leave that spot open so you encourage them to try that more often. Now, when I'm coaching people at camps or I'm coaching people remotely online, I basically just see regular formation. So how would we use this information knowing where the return is going to go? Well, if we're in regular standard formation and we know 80% of the time that return is going to go cross court and pass over that strap, guess what? We're going to poach more. So we can always go regular. This is totally fine. And right when they're about to hit, whether it's a forehand or a backhand, if we just guess and make that poach, we're probably going to be right about 80% of the time. Now, like I said in the intro, using different formations is a great way to cause stress and anxiety for your opponents. Just imagine I'm in your 4-5 league and you know that I play I formation, I play Aussie, I play regular, I poach, I fake, I stay. Do you think you and your partner are talking about me the whole week leading up to our match? Absolutely, because I play a different game than you and you have to adjust to me, which is a massive advantage. So if you just walk out in your next match and you only play regular formation, you are letting your opponent off the hook. I want you to be stressing about me nights before we play. So if I play a different game than you, I'm used to these different formations, I know the rules, and you don't play that very often, massive advantage in my favor. Now, the other thing formations allow us to do is run the same play over and over without our opponents knowing that we're actually doing it. So I'm going to give you an example from Duke. We actually had a player, he had a stress fracture in his hand, so he couldn't hit topspin forehands. So when he was the server, we always wanted him to be in the ad court, hitting backhands, and we wanted our net player on the right side. But we didn't want to make it that obvious. So what did we do? Well, 1/3 of the time, we would have my guy with the stress fracture serving in the deuce court. We'd go regular formation and we would call a poach. So this net player would then move here. He's on the right side. And my player with the stress fracture hitting backhands over there. Excellent. The other thing we would do is go I formation and have our net player go to the right. So we're in the exact same thing we just did. We just adjusted the starting position. The third thing we would do is just go Aussie and have this player stay right about here and my guy's hitting backhand. Now, that might seem very obvious to you. I can promise it wasn't obvious to our ACC opponents. So 90% of the time, we had my guy back there hitting backhands, we had our net player on the right, and all we did was give him a little window dressing in the beginning where it either looked like I was in standard, I was in I, or I was in Aussie, but we were trying to get the volleyer on the right and the baseliner on the left. And I want to prove to you how subtle the differences are in your actual positioning, but how different they can look before we even start the point. So now I'm going to show you two images here, and I want to see if you can spot the differences. Obviously, as we start to compare the two pictures, we can see the returner is hitting a forehand in one and a backhand in the other. We can also see the returner's partner is at the net in one and on the baseline in the other because one was a first serve, one was a second serve. As we look at the serving team, they look fairly similar. The server's in a similar position, and the net player's pretty close to the same position, although he's maybe leaning slightly towards the direction the return was being hit. Would it surprise you if one of these pictures is the serving team playing out of the I formation and the other picture is regular formation? So I want you to see if you can guess right now before I reveal this by playing these points. But before I do, if you're loving this video and you've learned something today, I'd love for you to join the 38% of people who subscribe to this channel who watch these videos. It's an easy way to say thank you to me in under 1 second. So if you guessed that picture A was I formation, you are correct. You can see right here a sliding line, obviously a poor return down the line. Now we got the regular formation and a poach. And again, you can see in slow motion here, even though we start in I, we end up about where you would if you were in regular formation. It's just your weight is being distributed differently. So if you got this right, leave me a comment and let me know how smart you were. All right, so 3 main takeaways today. Make sure you're using different formations to cause stress and anxiety for your opponents. Stress is an absolute stroke killer. They will miss a lot of balls just because you're doing something differently. Number 2, try to be aware that most people will try to return away from the net player, so you can dictate where that return is going to go based on your starting formations. And number 3, if you have a formation that's working, maybe someone volleying on the right side while the baseliner is on the ad court, you can run that play over and over, just starting in a different formation so your opponents don't catch on. So moving forward, use different formations, control where your opponent is going to hit the return, and you'll be winning more doubles matches in no time.